Hi, my name is Tim. I'm application engineer at ATR Soft. In today's webinar, we will have a look at getting started with custom tools. With me today, my wingman and ATR sales manager, Francois Simon, who will answer your questions. You can use the chat box and the GoToWebinar panel. I'm going to make room after the session for more questions to let you follow this presentation better. We expect the webinar to take somewhere in the range of 30 minutes. And as always, the webinar is being recorded and will be made available online later on. Okay, let's get started. So today I will cover these topics. We will create a new profile and just try to cover the basics of the concepts in custom tools. I will show you how I do this in many cases. Custom tools has also a great search interface, so we will import some design data. And this step should actually be done by all using custom tools. Then you will see how to define a property to be used in the custom tools search panel. And then we are going to create print, convert, and export profiles as well. We are not going to look into the more advanced topics today. Actually, let me open up the custom tools webpage. This is our redesigned webpage, and in here you will find quite a bit of resources. We added a resource center, and some of the items not covered today you can find in here for sure, as well as some of the items I'm going to cover. So for installation, we have made 3 installation videos which just take you directly to the resources on YouTube. And for getting started, for instance, the administration tool, how to use that and how to set everything up, we have a PDF. So all the resources that you need, we have placed them in our resource center. And the webinars, you can actually go in and see the upcoming ones. This is the one we are doing right now, as well as the past webinars. So please go into customtools.info and just look at the resource center and the webinars. And just a reminder, this is being recorded right now, so do not panic. I will move at a steady pace during this webinar, and you should definitely wait with your questions. If something is confusing, just check back to the webinar section later on and review everything that we do in this webinar. So with that said, let's get started. The first thing that I want to do is open up my custom tools administration. So imagine that you just installed custom tools and this is the first time you're going to use it. I already created a database, but if you need to create a database, you can just select the data server and then create database and just step through the wizard, and that will take care of everything for you. So if I go next, I can give the database a name and I can set to create a profile. And actually in this case, what I recommend is import the machinery design, because in that we include a bunch of different profile settings that you can always look on how we defined and maybe get some inspiration from that. You can also do a completely empty one, and in many cases that's actually what I'm doing for new customers when I do a profile setup. Or you could import a profile if you got one from your value-added reseller, or if you are either a CPM customer, a custom property management or manager account, then we can convert these, and we can also convert, it's not in this one, but we can also now convert ToolWorks profiles directly when you do the creation of a new profile. So basically, we got you covered in many cases. But I'm going to use the one that I already created, so I'm going to log in, and one of the confusing steps is what is the password for the admin? Well, in most cases, just try with no password. That will, in many cases, work. So at this point, I'm going to import a profile because I already created one. So I created one called RAL Clean. This is only RAL colors and a few of the properties that I'm going to need for this webinar. So I'm going to open that one. I could rename it if I want to, and I can set the profile active. So next and then finish, and that should take care of that for me. Now is a good time to begin adding users as well and assigning them to groups, but that's a different webinar. So at this point, I'm all set from this point of view. The rel that I just include just a few properties, nothing fancy at all. If I look at the default profile, the machinery design that we include, this one actually sports quite a bit of information. We have predefined some projects for you, as well as a bunch of different profiles, properties using all kinds of clever stuff like lookup lists, model combinations, and so on. But I'm not going to use that one at all. So let me open up SolidWorks at this point. Okay. So the idea here is to define my profile and set it up like I was a new first-time user. So to do that, I want to open up an assembly file because this is where I want to retrieve my properties from. And just close that one. So if I open up one of these parts and go to the SolidWorks file properties, then I can see a bunch of properties already exist on this file. So maybe I need everything, maybe I do not need everything. That is up to you to decide. This is your detective work when you are defining your properties. One thing that I find to be really useful is just to open up a blank drawing from your company templates and just have a look at what you are actually linking to in your drawing templates. So in this case, we have some revision, we have some drawing number, material, and so on. So if I'm going to put that just a bit to the side and open up my options, make this window slightly smaller, then I can go into my model properties and then begin building the properties needed for my files. And as you can see, I already provided quite a bit of properties already, but I definitely need to add the rel color, so I'm going in and pressing add and typing rel color, copying that and pasting it. Maybe not. Like that. So I can see the property values that I'm trying to fetch into my drawing, so it's really easy to set this up. So at this point, I'm not worried at all about aesthetics. The only thing that I'm aiming at is the attribute name. So the attribute name in the beginning when I do this always is the same as the label, so I'm just going to add it like that. Then I have some descriptions that I would like to add, so I'm going to add description, copy that and paste it, and as I said before, I'm not worried about aesthetics, so I'm just going to add it. Add one more. And one more. And then the final one. So these are the properties that I need for my profile. And at this point, I'm basically done defining my properties. So let me close this drawing and maybe have a look at my properties now. So this is what I get. These properties are read directly from the document properties, and it seems to be pretty okay. Now I begin to worry about my aesthetics of my profile, because now everything just lies in the properties group. Maybe I would like to have a group called customers, maybe I want to have one called material and one called designer. So I'm going to look back at my profile and start cleaning up and making some graphical adjustments, you could say. So in the options, for the model properties, I'm then going to add, in this case, 3 groups. So I'm going to add the customer, I'm going to add material, and I'm going to add designer. These groups cannot be empty, so I need to add some properties into them. And this is really simple. I'm just going to find the drawn by, put that in Designer, and the material goes to the material, of course. The weight goes to the material. Have C address, C name, these are customer, C reference email, C contact. So I can just drag and drop these properties as I like. The drawn date goes into the design, and the rel color may go into the material. And then I might need to set these in a better alignment like that. And name, address, contact seems okay. Material on top here, and drawn by, drawn date seems to be fine. Maybe I want to have the customer at the top of my list, so I can just drag and drop that. And actually, if I don't need to see this customer property, then I can go in and say that needs to be collapsed by default. So basically, I'm pretty happy with how this looks. So now if I go into my properties, it looks a lot better now. And I can expand this one and everything looks fine. So this is the time where I'm going to look at a new file just to see how everything is being defined. So I'm going to open up a blank or a template part and go into my properties. And now the drawn by, I could type in TRH, and I could type in the date 10/3/2016, but there is a pretty good chance that someone is going to type this in differently than I am. So maybe I want to dictate how this looks. The material would like to have a drop down to select material. The weight would be like to resolve automatically, as well as the rel color. The drawing number should definitely be a sequence. I don't want to type that in, but I could. Right now, if I type the drawing number, which actually is my file name, nothing happened. So there is an issue that I need to address as well. So a few things I need to do with my profile. The first one is I want the properties to be someplace up here, maybe below the customers, not sure, but anywhere I want it, I can have it. So then I need to have the drawn by, and the drawn by actually can be controlled by a property. So we can automate this field, so we don't have to type in that. And we have a get user initials, and that would take care of that issue. The drawn date, we have different types of boxes. So I'm going to use a date field for that. I want to retrieve the current date automatically, and then I want to dictate how this date format should look like. So I want to have it day with leading 0, and month with leading 0, and then the full year. So now I have built the logic that I want for this property. And for the material, I would like to return the SolidWorks materials directly into CustomTools. So I can do that by using a combo box and select Get Materials. The weight, to resolve that, I can do a Get Mass. For the rel color, I can use Get Rel Color. So Get Rel Color actually just looks at whatever we have in the rel color listing over here. So that should be taking care of everything. One thing that I need to do is add a sequence, and this is one of the really time-consuming items in most companies. You need to define how your files are named. I had a meeting with myself, and I agreed that we need to have SEQ as the name. Max value is 9999, and the next value is 125, because I already made 125 files, so actually that one should be 126, right? And the format date is the 4-digit number. But actually I want to have SEQ in front of that, so you can type in static text and use the more clever counter as we have in this case. So that should take care of my sequence numbering. And then I want to assign that property or that sequence to a property. So now I'm going to use my drawing number, use get code, because I want to retrieve that sequence I just created. And I can select all sequences, or I can select individual sequences. So in this case, it really doesn't matter, but do it like that. And then for sure, I need to define which property is used as my file name. Right now, nothing is defined, but I know that I'm using the drawing number as file name. I can define a save location, so I would like files to go into E, design, and maybe go into a folder called 1515, like so. And that is okay. Now I'm just going to close all the documents that I have. And create a new one. And just test my profile now. Now I've added all the logic that I require for this profile. So the drawing number, I now have a button to return the next available code. The designer was automatically populated as well as the drawn date. I can add material and say, well, this is plastic, and I can assign a color to that and hit OK, and everything is then taken care of. As you can see, I open up the save location that I defined in my project, and now I can save that file to that location. Perfect. But what if I don't want to return that file code manually always? And what if I don't want to save outside that location? Well, that's doable as well. I can just go into my options and I can remove the tick mark to allow saving in a different location. So now I'm not allowed to save outside that location. And as a default value, I could return the sequence code, then do a test more, hit the properties. Now the sequence code was returned automatically, as well as the other data that we are returning, the DRH and the date. So if I hit OK now, the file is then going to be saved to the correct location, and I was not even prompted for anything. So that's now taken care of. At this point, I would then go in, because now my profile is working as I want it to. So now I would then go in and run the import of some SolidWorks files. And I do this because the old projects that I had before using CustomTools, I want to be searchable. So I'm going to add a folder in this case and just select the top level for this folder. There are quite a few folders underneath, and just include the subfolders. So that is going to take care of all the SolidWorks files found in that location. And as you can see, we have 124 files. If any one of these files have references outside of that location, they are going to be imported as well. So we can just run the import and you can see what is going to happen. Now we go into the C users. So now we are finding references a different place. So really nice. And we can close that. At this point now, I can run a search against my files, and I know that I have a 12-inch subwoofer, so I'm going to search for 12 and see what I get. Wow, I got quite a few with the number 12 in it someplace. So one of these is what I'm looking for. But actually the number 12, well, the 12 is part of the description. So it would be nice if I could only search for the description containing the value 12. That's really simple using CustomTools. You just open up your options again, find your model properties, and then find whatever you want as a searchable item in your search panel. So I'm going to double click the description and hit next twice, and then enable the property in search. And then you will see the task panel over here blinking, and then we have it as an option. So now I can search directly for 12. And that takes care of the more extended search that we had using the free search. So now I'm able to have a look at this one and say, well, where's that being used? It's being used in a 12-inch subwoofer. Okay, perfect. Then open that file up in SolidWorks. So we know the references, and that is why you should definitely use the custom tool search and the import to better leverage your files. At this point, I'm then going to create maybe 3 more options. I'm going to add a print profile, and you can give that any name you want. So I'm going to call it print all. And for the print all, I want to add some printers. So whenever I'm going to print my projects, I don't have to worry about printers and sheet size and orientation. And we offer 2 ways of doing this. You can either use the sheet format file, and that will then look at your default headers for your documents, or a more generic one called the sheet size, and that could be the A4 in landscape. So if I'm printing A4 in landscape, I'm going to use this printer in A4 and in landscape. And if I have an A4 in portrait, then I'm going to use the same printer but use the paper orientation portrait. And if I'm going to print A3 in landscape, then I'm going to use a different printer. Maybe I'm using the PDF, really doesn't matter. Whatever printer you have on your system as printers that are installed, you can use those during these print jobs, and you don't have to worry about printers and paper orientation and size or anything. So now I'm just using this PDF printer and printing into A3 size, and that's landscape and so on. So you can just build whatever you need in this one. File conversion, I would like to create PDF files of all my drawings. So I'm going to create a rule called PDF. The file type is, of course, PDF. And I only want to apply this conversion rule against drawings. So I'm not interested in assemblies or parts. If you want to, you can actually select parts and then convert into 3D PDF in a batch job as well, but I'm not going to do that for this one. So now PDF on drawings, and then I'm going to save that to the source path, create a folder called PDF, and then give it the name of the file, as well as maybe the time stamp. There are some drawings in my setup which are called DXF because they are a laser cutting file, and I don't want to have the drawing sheets with the name DXF in it. So for the drawings, I'm going to say I'm not going to print or convert DXF. So that will filter out the selection of DXF sheets altogether. And there is an option to overwrite the files, and that is okay. So perfect. The last thing that I would like to do is add the export profile. So I'm going to create a new one called Excel test, and the output path is then going to be the source path, the source file name, and I'm going to add the time as well to that one. What and how would I like the Excel file to be created? Would I like top level only, parts only, indented assemblies? Well, I want only parts in this one. And if you want to, you can actually run a conversion during the export to Excel. Mind you, if you are selecting the PDF, that is a drawing conversion rule, so you need to include the drawings in the report. And this is just for reading references when doing this. But now everything should be set, and I can hit, okay, I need to add some profile fields, of course. So the Excel profile is set, but I have no content in it at this point. So I'm going to add a CustomTools, a SolidWorks property first, and then add the item number. I'm then going to add a CustomTools attribute called drawing number, because I want to have the drawing number. I want the quantity, and that is a SolidWorks property. And I may want to have description, sounds reasonable, and then maybe a preview image. So let's add a preview image. That's a value, and the label is preview. Hit OK, and now I've defined an export profile. And you can add all the fields that you want to this profile. It's just a matter of hitting new, selecting what to add, picking it in the list, and hit OK. And you can do the drag and drop reordering as well in this list, and you can delete if you want to. So now everything should be fine. If I go into my print and convert, this is my print profile. I can select to print all, and all the drawing sheets are selected, and I can hit OK. I could go into the batch conversion and do the same for PDF. All is selected, and I can hit OK. But I already tied this PDF to an Excel export, so I'm just going to kill this one and run the export directly instead. So select the profile to be used, that is the Excel test. We read the content, we add the columns that we added in the setup of the profile, and now I can run the export. This is going to convert the drawings into PDF before it's going to create the Excel file itself. So right now it's just opening up drawings in the background and saving them out as PDF files with the name and the rule that we have defined. So give that a few seconds, and we have done 18 drawings. And then we are creating the Excel file. And that's basically it. So back to PowerPoint. As a small checklist, this is a recap of what we just went through. We did not cover the installation, but you can find all of these resources on our webpage, as I showed you. You need to do a bit of detective work because you need to figure out which properties are required in your setup. Only you can answer that. And there are two things that I'm looking for when I'm doing profiles. That is either look at the assembly, because then you have quite a bit of properties. You definitely want to have mostly all of the properties you have in your assembly and your part files, but definitely have a look at your drawing templates, because in there you can see exactly what the drawing is linked to, and that is really simple to just copy those into your CustomTools profile. So when all that is defined, you need to build in the more logic portion of it, as I showed, retrieving the user initials and displaying the material list and so on, making date fields, all of that. Then you need to test, of course, that everything is okay, and then I recommend importing your design data so you can search for it, and then set up, of course, maybe print, convert, and export profiles. So that is all that we had for you today. You can start typing in your questions now, and we will then answer them. For those of you who are leaving, I'd like to thank you for attending the webinar, and we hope to see all of you for the next one, scheduled at April 14th at the same time as today. We will have a look at property combinations and how to build some pretty advanced properties and logic into your profile without even knowing anything about programming. I'm going to stop the recording now and then cover the questions. Thank you and have a nice day.